Okay, hello, radiant women. I had to jump on here and just share. There has been so much happening in my world recently. Today, I just got off two epic calls. The first one was with my rich and radiant mastermind clients. The second one was with an amazing woman who I had a very deep dive clarity session with, who's wanting to create 40K months and she's moving to Canada. There's like a whole vibe happening, so much change and exciting things happening in her life. And yeah, so okay, where to begin? Well, I want to first talk about what emotional states are we addicted to, or have we been addicted to? So last night, I literally set my alarm for midnight. I usually go to sleep pretty early, around 9:30 p.m. And I set my alarm at midnight because I got up to get on a mastermind call a mastermind I'm in. My mentor is in Puerto Rico. So I was literally on a mastermind call between midnight and 2:30 a.m. this morning. And one of the things she mentioned on there was around emotional states that we can become addicted to. Now, this isn't something new. I remember a few years ago, another mentor brought up how we can become addicted to cortisol, right? We become addicted to like that adrenaline stress state of like fight or flight, go, 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 go. And I was like, that is interesting. Now, I literally, after I heard that this morning, I went onto ChatGTP and I said to Chat, it knows me very well, and I said, based on everything you know about me, what would you say is the emotional state that I am addicted to? And it was like, you're addicted to the state of becoming, like of rebirth, like the intensity, right? Because my human design and my personality type is all about like death and rebirth, transformation, intensity. And I was like, wow, that is so interesting. And I started thinking about my last few weeks. So, for context, we are literally packing up our entire lives here. We've been here in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales, Australia for the last 5 years. And we're packing up everything now and literally moving our family to New Zealand. And let me tell you, it has not been all unicorns and rainbows. It has been very stressful, a million things to do and think about and organize. And literally, though, I started thinking, okay, what would happen if this move were actually easy? And what am I getting out of it being like chaotic and stressful? And then what came up was like, okay, if it's all really easy and I'm not like overcoming anything, am I still as inspiring? Right? Because it's like, if it's like stressful and there's like so much happening and there's intensity and challenges and I still rise to the top, then I feel significant, then I feel like I'm inspiring, right? And it's like, and I was like, can I still be inspiring and important if it's easy? So I share this with you because I would say that every single person has an emotional state addiction. And the way that you can kind of uncover this, I mean, definitely have a great conversation with ChatGTP, but like look at, okay, what emotional states am I the most comfortable in? Because here's the thing, right? And I would say a lot of people have an addiction to cortisol for sure, to stress. And often we will have an emotional addiction to, emotional state addiction to the dominant emotional state of our household when we were growing up as children because it's familiar. Okay. And this links back into the whole concept of, in human psychology and behavior, that people would rather choose, right, or stay in a familiar hell than an unfamiliar heaven. So I'll say that again. People would rather choose a familiar hell than an unfamiliar heaven because it's safe. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's painful, even if it's a struggle, it is safe and it's what they've always known. And I feel like this is such an important conversation because yes, we are infinitely powerful beings. We're these divine beings with limitless potential, and we live in a very primal, very a very primal body. Like we live in this human body, which is just like any other mammal on earth, where we have this nervous system that's wired to keep us alive. And so anytime we're about to step over that threshold into the unknown, fear will arise. And so it's not about getting rid of the fear, it's about how do you hold yourself through the fear? How do you relate to fear? And this is something that comes up often for my clients is like, it's not the fear that blocks us. It's not the limiting thought or the limiting pattern that blocks us. It's our relationship to it. And I feel like it's important to mention as well that when we make decisions and we take actions that are aligned, right? Meaning they're in our highest good. They're going to take us to where we actually want to be in our lives, right? They're leading us down the path of our truest, deepest heart's desires, right? It's not always unicorns and rainbows. So just because we make an aligned decision, it doesn't mean that it's going to be like, yay! Like, for example, us moving to New Zealand is like, I know in my bones it's the next most aligned step for us to take. And it's going to be super expansive. I can feel that. And it's been deeply uncomfortable. And there's been grief in letting go of my life here. And there's been grief in letting go of my relationships and friendships here. And, right? And so I wanted to share that because I feel like this is such an important skill to cultivate as entrepreneurs is how do we relate to emotional intensity? Because what most people will do is they'll go, I want to move to New Zealand. That's an aligned decision. Or, I want to go start that business. I want to make this relationship or leave this relationship. But then uncomfortable emotions start to arise. And rather than following through on what's in alignment, they'll contract, play small, and avoid those uncomfortable feelings. But what is the cost of that? When we avoid the discomfort, we're also avoiding alignment. That is the cost. When we avoid discomfort, we avoid alignment, we avoid everything that we are actually truly desiring in our lives. And so when we learn emotional mastery, and this is why I'm so Emotional mastery is a core pillar of my body of work, because when we can learn to be with intensity, we're no longer a slave to running away from our uncomfortable emotions. We can make the decisions, we can take the actions that we know is true for us, and we can hold the discomfort and be with that and continue moving forward in our lives into what our soul, God, whatever you want to call it, is calling us into. So fear is not bad or wrong. Fear is there trying to keep us safe. Fear is just like your friend going, is this okay? You just want to make sure that you're not going to die. Like, is this the right decision? And so instead of being angry at fear and saying, fuck off, fear, right? Which is what I would say most of you are doing right now, and it's not working. You're trying to get rid of fear, or you're like, fuck, fear, why are you here? Just piss off. Instead of doing that, say, hey, fear, yes, this is the right decision. Everything's going to be okay. We're not going to die. The worst case scenario, we'll be okay in that. That right there is ultimate freedom. That right there is personal power. That right there is the energy of infinite, limitless potential. Okay. I feel like that is me for today, short and sweet. I am going to pop in the show notes to this the recent masterclass that I ran, Create Radiant Success in 2026. Hashtag separation season. What is separation season, you ask? Well, if you want to dive deeper into that, check out day 2 of the masterclass. But essentially, separation season is the time where, so this time of year, how does 5% of the population who are very successful act differently? What do they do differently to 95% of the population who are kind of just living in the matrix and not really liking their lives so much, right? So definitely check that out. Create Radiant Success in 2026. And what else do we have? We have that happening. We also have, I am going to open up 10 clarity sessions. I will pop the link to that in the show notes as well. So 10 clarity sessions. So this is where we dive deep into your 12-month vision of where you want to be. So this is like the perfect time of year to do this. Don't wait until the end of January, like when you're already a month into the year. Have a look now into where do you want to be in 12 months' time? Where are you now? What are those things that are potentially blocking you? And then I coach you through one of those blocks. And then we look at a pathway from getting you from where you are now to where you want to be over the next 12 months. Okay, so we'll pop the link to that in the notes as well. All right, sending you all so much love. And as always, I would love to hear your biggest takeaways. Share in your stories, tag me so I can see them, your biggest takeaways. I really love interacting with you in this way and hearing what you are loving from this podcast. Yeah, all right. Mwah, love you so much.